Okay, so the um, map that we have created so far is an empty map. I mean, meaning that we have the geometry set up and the content or the lighting also set up, but the map is pretty bland and it uses the default material, which is a checkerboard kind of material. So now what we're going to do in this second video is that we are going to add some stuff to our map. And the first thing to add to your map is essentially materials. Because the materials are the things that you apply to the surfaces in your geometry, and by the reaction between the material and the lights in your map, you will be able to get the visual contents the way that you would like it to look like, your game level to look like. Now, in order to apply your material, we have included in our level the asset package, which has the materials, static meshes, and all the other objects that we want to create. And of course, they are created and they are on the DVD that comes with your book, so you won't have to create them now. But as we go on in this semester, in this class, we will learn how to create these contents, materials, static meshes, and so forth. So let's go ahead and open our generic browser. And the generic browser is actually what you can see on the toolbar menu next to the search for actors icon, which is a binocular. So you click on the content browser, or alternatively you can press Control, Shift, and F, and the content browser will open up. Now when I clicked on it, my content browser opened up, but it's minimized because the last time I minimized my content browser. So here it is. So here it is, my content browser. So go ahead and sort of resize your content browser, and here the content browser will show on your UDK editor. And by default, bunch of maps that are the generic contents of UDK will be loaded up, and you can see them. If you have followed the instructions that I asked you from the beginning of the previous video, you have added a folder called GMNG4316 to your map, and you can double click on it, and then you can also double click on your Unit 2 content which you added, and then if you right click on it, you can load or fully load your materials or your package assets in the package. If they are already installed and loaded as we did here, they already will be loaded when you open up your map, your UDK editor. If you haven't done that, you can open a external package. So you can right click on it and open the external packages that come with your DVD. So you can click on DVD, go to custom packages, and click on chapter 3, and then load chapter 3 level assets. But I strongly encourage you to copy the content of chapter 3 within the folder that we created for this class, so you can compress them and submit them with your assignment. So the content of UDK will be loaded. So click on the U02, which is essentially the package that we copied, and fully load the contents. So you right click on the package U02, which is the file that we created, and then fully load the package materials, and you'll see that everything is going to be loaded on. Now what we want to do is that we want to apply some materials to our level, and we have a bunch of different assets here, and if you click on the little triangle next to your package, you'll see that there are special assets called particles and textures, and then there are general purpose assets like materials, animation sets, and all that sort of stuff. So what we need here is basically your materials to apply them on your level. We have different kinds of materials here. We apply material wall plates to the walls in the square room, and then stone mossy materials, and we apply those to actually stone dark here. We apply them to your, let's apply mossy to the cylindrical room. So to apply a material to your room, you just left click on the material you want. Here, wall underscore mat underscore plates is the material that you want to apply to the walls of your square room. Minimize the content browser and then go to the square room. Let me maximize the perspective viewport. I'll click on the unlit so I see a clear view of this room. You can left click, hold the control button down, and rotate and add the walls and the ceiling of your room, the square room. And as you see here, they are highlighted. Then right click from the context menu, click on apply material wall plates, and this way the wall plates will be applied to the content of your viewport. And if you click on the lit, then you will see how the materials would react to the lighting. And so here's how your level would look like. Now, before you play your level from here, you would have to go ahead. Okay, and then from the pop-up menu that opens up, uncheck the light mask again and run. And then let's play the game or the level from the viewport. Okay, here is now how your level looks like. Okay. Now, next you want to apply some more materials to the level. And then for the floor in the square room, just open up your generic browser and click on mat wall screws, and you see that it's highlighted with the red box next to it, around it, and then right click and apply material screws on the floor of your square room. Then let's move to the cylindrical room. Click on one of the walls, right click on it, and click on select surfaces, and then click on adjacent walls. Actually, it didn't work out that way. Click on select surfaces, and then click on adjacent coplanar. Click on adjacent one. Actually, let's just go ahead and choose them one by one. So hold the control and then rotate by right clicking, and then select all the walls and the ceiling, and right click and apply the materials. And you see that the wall screws will be added, but we want the mossy materials. So open your generic browser, click on stone mossy material, and then right click back and apply it to the walls. So the wall materials have been added, and now click on your generic browser, open it, click on material stone, and make sure that you just clicked on the checkbox next to the materials in the generic browsers. Right click on this floor and apply the material here. So now you have different kinds of materials applied to your surfaces. Build the lighting one more time, uncheck the light mask, and then play the level. Okay, as you see here now, different materials are applied to different walls, and so here's how your two rooms would look like after you apply the materials. Now choose the floor of the cylindrical map and then right click on it and click on surface properties. As you see here, now you can apply the panning of your texture because this material has a bunch of textures on it. So you can click on the scaling options, click on the relative as you see here, and then make the scaling option say 25 or 0.025, and then when you apply, you see that your material or the scaling of your texture on the surface is actually divided by 4, so the stones look much smaller. Now if you increase it to say 4, and then you click apply, the stones become much larger in terms of their scale. So you can manipulate the surface properties by right-clicking on the surface and applying and changing the surface properties, such as changing the scaling of your texture, panning and rotation of your textures, and so forth. So play with those material properties, and when you're satisfied with your level, then rebuild your lighting and then play the level. Okay. All right. Okay. Before we move on to the next step, which is adding some static meshes to your level here, I just wanted to talk a little bit about selecting multiple surfaces at the same time. And I tried because here we have two different brushes and two different kinds of rooms here. If you had one room and they were not connected like they are here, you could left click on one surface and right click, and from surface properties or selected surfaces option, you could select a bunch of different options. Now here we have two different rooms. If you wanted to, for example, select all the walls in one room, what you can do is that you can right click on one of the walls. From the select surfaces, you can select all adjacent walls, and this way you select all of the walls, the ones in both rooms here. So what you can do here is that you can right click on all of them again and then add them to memory. So you click on memorize set. This way all of these walls will be added to the memory in UDK. Now if you wanted to select all of the rooms in walls in one room, you could select all of the walls within this texture, and then and this selection with the ones in memory, which were all the walls, and this way you only select the ones that you needed. So click on select surfaces, and then you can now click on matching, say, texture, for example. This way all of the walls with this texture will be selected. And remember, and notice these walls with this the texture that is the default texture, the walls with the plate texture and the walls with mossy texture, all of them were in memory. Now if we select all the say with the same texture and add this from the memory, basically the only walls with the mossy textures will be selected. So you can play with this XOR, AND, OR, and other binary selection tools to select the group of walls, surfaces, and other objects that you need to work with. Okay. Now, so here we have our cylindrical room, and we need to add some more things to this level to make it look a lot more interesting and not as empty as it is. So in the package that you have we are using for this unit, we have a bunch of static meshes that are created in a 3D content creation software, like Maya or 3ds Max, and they are added to the assets within this game package, and we can use them. You can use those assets from the content browser. So click on the content browser. I have the content browser here opened up, and uncheck the materials, and then check the static meshes from the U02. And you see there are different kinds of static meshes here. There is a static mesh for a doorway, static mesh for a door, crate static mesh that we will use, static mesh for pipe joints, pipe, and the pipe corner. So I want to use the pipe static mesh. So click on static mesh pipe straight, left click on it. When it's selected, you see that it's highlighted with a yellow box around it. And then go somewhere in your level and add it by right clicking and adding static mesh U02 static mesh pipe straight. You have different kinds of actors that you can add. Static mesh is one that is already set up. Now I'm going to minimize or restore the viewports, and I'm going to work with the top viewport to put this static mesh close to the wall. Okay, and then let's go in. The perspective view and see how this looks like. Okay, so now the pipe has been added, which is basically a static mesh. And if you go to one of the wireframe viewports, you see that static mesh's wireframe is basically a teal wireframe. So you would know that these are static meshes. The difference between static meshes and the geometry that we created here, and the constructive solid geometries, is that static meshes are really easy and efficient, and UDK treats them really efficiently with the efficiency of their rendering within your graphics card or graphics pipeline. So if you have a bunch of these static meshes in the scene, only one of them will be created once, and then all the other ones will be redrawn based on their translational, rotational, and scale properties with respect to the original one. And this way, their rendering is going to be very efficient. Most of the games that you create and you play, most of the levels are essentially covered in static meshes, and so you can even create the entire level in a three-dimensional content creation tool like 3ds Max as a static mesh, and then just use the static meshes and put them together to create your final level. Now that I added this static mesh, let's redo the lighting and play the level one more time. Okay, so now I'm in the level, but there's something wrong here, and as you see, there doesn't look a nice smooth shadow of this static mesh on the wall. Okay, so I want to have that shadow applied. You can do that by selecting the wall behind the object and click on its surface properties, and then on the lighting tab of the surface properties, you can adjust this light map resolution to smaller values, such as for example 8 here. And when you apply that, then you would be able to see better resolutions on your light of the shadows on your surfaces. So as you see here, with better light map resolution or finer light map resolution, such as 8 here, you will have a smoother shadow of the object on the surfaces. Of course, by changing your light map resolutions, you are requesting a lot more process on your graphics engine. So you want to come up with a nice trade-off between the quality of the shadows on the surfaces and the amount of process that you put on your GPU, so your level would not get bogged down. So I'm going to apply a different resolution on my floor here and build the lighting. Okay, so now I can get a bit of a shadow around the floor as well. Alright, so I have the pipe set up and light map resolution applied to it. Now next I would like to go ahead and apply more or create more meshes actually. So click on the joint from your content browser and add static mesh actor and put it in the top and side and front viewports. Try to align it with your straight pipe and then open the content browser, click on the corner pipe and once more right click and add the pipe, and now I will align it and then rotate it by clicking on the rotate mode, and then I will rotate this so that it would be pointing outward from the wall, and use the three orthographic views to align these three mesh components so that they would fit together. And one last time, build the lighting and then play the map. Okay, so this is essentially the way that we set our pipe. Now, the pipe, as you notice here, may be too close to the wall. If you want to change it a little bit and move it around, the pipe is made of three components. So you can hold down the Control and Alt keys and left drag, marquee drag, and select the pipe, and then all the three parts of the pipe, and then move it a bit more away from the wall. Okay, and when you're done with it, rebuild the lighting and then play the game or play the level. Okay, so here is how it now looks like. Now I want to add a player point or a player actor to my level so that whenever I start the map, I can start from the player, the spawn location for the player. To do so, right click somewhere on the map and then click on the actor and then add player start, and then you can rotate your player start, for example from the top viewport, so that the player would look at the pipe basically. Okay, and so alright, so now that you have the player start set up, right click on the player start, play from here, and so you have the startup. Okay, now that we added our pipe mesh here, let's add a door between the two rooms that we created. So open your generic browser, and if you just minimize it, restore it, and then click on static mesh for doorway, and then again minimize your or close your generic browser, and then go to the top viewport and add static mesh doorway, and then move the doorway and align it with the doors or the gap here, and just check and see if the alignment is pretty good in both rooms, and it looks pretty alright. And then save your level, build the lighting, and then play the level. Okay, so as you see here, the doorway has been built, and because of the the differences between the lights that we set up, your doorway will essentially will not allow you to just move back from the cylindrical room. You need to jump by pressing the space. Now we want to set up some lights around the four corners of the doorway so they would light up. So again, press the L button on the keyboard, right click, press the L button on the keyboard, left click in one of the rooms, and that will create a light. And then in your top viewport, place the light close to the surface of the mesh, where the light on the door is supposed to be. And now what we need to do is to make changes to the light properties and make it just shine in front of your doorway. And this is because although the doorway mesh has set up on its texture a self-emissive light that looks like that it's shining light, it does not cast shadows on the objects because it's not actually a light. That's why you're putting the light here. So change the lighting radius to say 64, and then the light brightness to 25%, and the light color, and match that color with the color of the light on the door. And the exact properties are in your textbook. And then open the light channels and check the dynamic light. Close the light channel and click on Cast Dynamic Shadows. And when you do this, your light will cast dynamic shadows and will also interact with dynamic objects. Now we want to create duplicate lights for this light for the other three corners. So hold down the Alt key and move your light along the X and Y axes to create the other three lights. And once you have all these lights created, align the 4 up, and then hold Control and Alt buttons and marquee drag to select all the 4 lights. Hold the Alt button and drag them to the other side of the door. This way you create 8 lights, identical lights, that shine on the surface. Build your lighting conditions and then play your level. As you see here, now your objects, the light will shine actually in the 4 corners, and they will also cast shadows on the ground, dynamic shadows on the ground.